So welcome back again. As you probably noticed, this is I should have made this into a three-part series. Anyways, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jose. Welcome to those who are new. I do a lot of things. Microastrology is what I'd like to term it. It is basically working with asteroids. I work with over 150 asteroids. Now, it's not really a coined term, but I'd like to coin it that way because I like the sound of it, micro astrology. So there have been posts on my channel on this one. I also do other things like I'm a musician instrumental musician specifically. And I do love languages, but I don't learn it. I don't study it. I just acquire it through stories. Naturally, I avoid translations at all costs unless it's a means to an end. Yada, yada, yada. So very naturally, the way babies, toddlers, and children acquire language, and it's possible. So anyways, I found out that there's a beautiful thing about what's called the 12th house. And I just was watching a video, a channel reading by Ann Tucker. For those who don't know her channel, go to her channel. Ann Tucker, she channels angels. She goes up, high, high, and then she goes up even further. That's what she says. She usually introduces herself. So she's also a Libra, by the way. So yay. Um, the other thing is that, okay, so what was it? When I was watching her video, I could link it later, maybe in the description below. Let me put that in here to I remind myself, so sometimes I forget. Um, mm, it's about the wounding in the womb. Okay. So what happened is that she was talking about it, and it got me thinking. Just watch the video, you'll see in the link below. Um, but I noticed that it's like, oh yeah, that's right. Because usually when we think of the 12th house, it's karmic, right? But she said that we actually acquire wounds. Well, sorry, we get wounded even in the womb. So in vitro is what's the Latin term for it, but that's not the point. Um, and so whatever our parents are feeling, we actually absorb it as a fetus. And that kind of makes sense why sometimes we have trauma beyond that's deeper than our own subconscious. It's literally in the womb itself. So not to mention the ancestral stuff, Um, but the womb thing, that one is powerful, right? So I noticed that and I was like thinking about it. It's like, well, so how do you heal that stuff? Because you were saying, the one thing that came to mind is it's all about, um, well, not all about. It's sometimes when we do healing stuff, we often it becomes a conscious thing, right? Even when we do things like parts work, shadow work, all those things, it's kind of conscious, but it's also kind of subconscious. But I noticed that I would say all of it. Now, astrologically, there is a fourth thing that's attached to the word conscious. So there's the conscious, which is actually the third house, by the way. There's the unconscious, which is the sixth house, which actually is tied directly to health. And then there's a super conscious, that's the ninth house. Then there's a subconscious, the 12th house. Now, with the subconscious thing, makes sense why that is also in the womb because it's in water, it's in the belly, it's finishing a cycle. That's pretty much like that, right? It's really 12th house stuff. It's ruled by Pisces. So other things that could probably do that that would help, I would say, is past life regression, things like QHHT, quantum healing hypnosis therapy. Okay, ancestral healing stuff. There's one that's just one I saw with Skylife for her channel. She did a video on what is this? There was a Native American healing technique where she goes into the four squares and where the ancestors are. I don't know, something like that. But I feel those are still conscious. So we have to go into the healing subconsciously. Inner child healing, that's try to apply to what Teal Swan does. Okay. There's other people who do inner child healing, but there's also a thing called somatic breathwork. Okay. You can also do the Wim Hof method so that in, instead of actually bringing up more pain in the future life, like you want to get used to the trauma, your body gets used to the trauma through the cold, but not trauma itself. It's not, it's not de-stress. It's called eustress, EU stress. Okay, EU stress. So, but tying this to astrology, what is this tying to astrology? Well, let's take a look. Okay, so something I discovered and I thought it was just wonderful. So I actually opened up several things here. I actually opened up my chart. Um, so I'm not going to say what the wounding was because I can't really say, but it was, I think it's tied to definitely like tied up. It's almost like my mother didn't want me. I'm not saying that she didn't want me, but I think there was that desire to have like, because I was born 4 years after my sister was born. Then 2 years later, my brother was born and I was born, but there was a gap. So I feel like there's just something that was, I feel like there's something about, not that she didn't want me, but because it was kind of like maybe she already had all of us, she had through cesarean births. She didn't want the pain because I don't think my mother's comfortable with pain that much. Although she can last, but she sometimes she tends to like, and then finally she gets used to it. Um, so there's something about the mother there because it is in Cancer. You can see here, right here. Right? But you can also see there was, if you looked at without the two asteroids here, Skadronos, the Celtic god of abundance. He's more than that. But there's also here Ceres, both of them in 23 degrees. Okay. For me, it's square Pluto, Sun. So you can tell there's something more, something that went on with the heart. I was born with a heart murmur. Okay, that makes sense how that was. There's toxins in the body of my mother, or at least I would say it was passed on by my father. Because it's tied to the sun, but definitely toxins, because Pluto rules toxins. Okay. So, um, there's something else about this one. I looked up keratinose, and keratinose actually is foreign substances. So there must have been something that my mom took, okay? Something that had to be released from the body, which created toxins, excuse me. But it also rules things like cavities. Okay, so keratinose I really rules cavities because it makes sense why. Because you look at all the cavities in your body, right? Types of cavities. There's a dorsal cavity, cranial cavity, spinal cavities. It's basically like this. But there's also the oral cavity. I was born with left palate right here. I don't know if you could see it. Okay. There's a cut. So I was born with that cut. Okay, not the complete one, but it's still there. Okay. Either way. Okay. What else is there? I was also born with wisdom teeth. I believe those got removed later on in life, which is Keranos. That makes sense, right? Then I look into series. I'm looking to my cheat sheet. So let's see here. Okay, so series rules. I'm looking at the medical part here because this is a 12th house. It's in the womb, so it's body. Okay, reproductive system. So something. Okay, pregnancy. See, something was going on with the pregnancy. That makes sense, right? The placenta. Okay. Um, Milk injection reflex or letdown. My mom did not produce milk. I believe that's what she said. So we were not breastfed, all three of us. So she couldn't have breast milk. She couldn't produce. So what we did was we were breastfed. We were fed through like, what was that? Baby, baby mixture. What is that called? Baby formula. Okay. So yeah, so it is rules breast milk as well. That makes sense here. Okay. Vitamin D deficiencies, the bloodstream of the mother. So maybe she had also vitamin D deficiencies. Okay. Uh, Gastrointestinal tract of the baby. That kind of makes sense why I get gassy now that I think about it. This has never come up before. So this is wonderful. Um, what else was there? Mucous membranes, antioxidant inflammatory enzymes. Something about that. I don't know, there was something wrong. They had to send me to the hospital later. Okay. Eczema. There you go. Atopic disease, eczema. That explains. I used to have eczema before. I don't scratch it anymore. This area, like this, what do you call these things right here? And then the legs. If I scratch those, the eczema flares out. There's a little bit that's flaring out right now because I'm kind of scratching it a little bit. But if I let that be, it'll heal. Okay. Uh, Again, lactation is part of this one. So she had a hard time lactating. Ear infections, that explains why I really don't have good hearing, or at least I had hearing loss, so I was very sensitive to that. Um, so my brother is the one who got the asthma. Okay. What was this one? I don't know if she had diabetes. So if this was part of this one, I just potential for me to get diabetes. This is why I'm careful about sugar. Okay, so yeah, it says here diabetes, nipple pain, plugged milk ducts, and breast infection. So there must have been there as well. So that is series. Now there's a bunch of other stuff too, as you can see. So it's square to Pluto, and that means that Pluto is rules toxins, anything poisonous, venoms, bacteria, viruses, fungi. That is, that's Pluto. So it also could mean that there was something there that was affecting her health, that why she probably didn't want me, maybe because of the health stuff. I don't know. I could ask her, but that's something she most likely will take personally and make it about herself. That is the way my mom does it. I'm not going to get into that, but it shows. Now, if you ever discovered that, something's happening there, like with your mom, you ask them, your mother or your mother figure, if there was something there, then you'll know. So there is also in my chart Nessus square Pluto, Nymph square Pluto. So Nessus is a centaur. So Nessus is often tied to trauma. Okay. But he's also tied to toxins. So let's look at the metal. Something about the blood. Okay. So toxins, again, infection. So there was an infection. That was the big one that my mom said. She had an infection. So pathogen transmission. So this is one of them, one of the types of pathogen transmission is through mother to child. That explains it. So Nessus. Okay. Um, there's also parts of the body that is, what is this? Communicable diseases or anything that's passed on. Um, Amygdala is a prefrontal nervous system. That explains my nervousness. There's something about the nervousness there. Okay. So this is how I go deep into the astrology because I use asteroids. Okay. This is so nymph is what is undeveloped anatomy of babies. I did not realize this till now. Okay. I love when this happens, but at the same time, it's kind of like, oh, okay, that explains it. It's almost like you feel like it's like, was this faded? It's like, what? So it's undeveloped anatomy of babies and what they need. Okay, so brown fat. I didn't probably not get any of that stuff. Vernix, fluid-filled lungs, jaundice, I don't know, potential for or risk of jaundice liver, inability to break down fat and complex carbohydrates, easy to digest proteins, antibodies, breast milk. So I do not probably get the antibodies, definitely out the breast milk. Okay. And the brown fat. Okay, so inability to break that down. That's probably why if I eat too much, I gain weight. Well, I don't gain weight fast, but it's what was this inability to was that one? Inability to work complex carbohydrates. No, I think that was fine. This one was fine. But it is still square Pluto. Okay, that explains that. There's also Alkesti. Okay, you can see there's a lot of stuff that happened there. Okay, Alkesti, then I go into the medical part here. Let's see here. Resuscitations. Yeah, I had a heart. I had to be put on IV or something like that. It's some kind of resuscitation or not resuscitation. What was this? Yeah, IV. Yeah. Skin grafting. That is Alkesti. How did I know that? There's something about this. If you look at the mythology of Alkesti, right? There's something about her. what is this? Revivals and resurrections, so CPR. So she's something about replacement. So she's kind of like Osiris. That makes sense with Alcesti. It's part of the mythology where she had what is this? Open marriage chamber full of coiled snakes. Okay, so there's a story where she was brought back from the underworld by Hercules. So that's often replacement, right? Brought back. Okay. Um, so that makes sense because you look at the mythology, you go beyond the figurative meanings of those things and the symbolism behind it. And in this case, you go reverse, you make it literal. What other forms can you do? This is where when I my cheat sheet, I came up with medical stuff. And literally 90% of the time they work. Like there are certain things that don't kind of make sense that don't apply, but sometimes they do. So I put all of the ones that I feel are these are like I feel are downloaded, and I'm like, whoa, so wonderful. Like I got told to look at this, look at this, look at this. So I'm not going to go too much into my chart. I'm just showing you that these things happen. You can see I have a left click palette here. You see the cut there? Okay. So um that's what it is. So the 12th house is that stuff. Now, probably people are wondering, it's like, well, how do I heal this stuff? Well, the physical stuff, that's already been done. The thing about all this stuff is what's more important is that we bring awareness to the emotional wounds, psychological wounds, right? When you bring attention to it, you bring awareness to it, to bring the light of awareness to it. Now, people are probably wondering, it's like, well, how did I do that? Because we're so used to just getting information, 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 information. We're not putting in the work or we're not actually applying it. So what we need is awareness. When I say awareness, it's not just awareness, like I know what it is. No, I mean like literally unconditional love. That whole like you're validating it, you're surrendering like as if it's like a child that needs a hug. When when children cry, sometimes we say, oh, please don't cry, please don't do that because that creates damage actually. Now people will disagree with that, but I'm like, well, that's what it does because the child just wants to express it, not because it's who they are, but because they want the emotion to pass. It's like a river flowing and you're trying to stop it. Emotion is tied to water. If you stop water from flowing, all you're going to get is a dam. All you're going to get is more flooding. All you're going to get, it's going to be redirected. And in this case, it gets redirected back into the subconscious, gets suppressed, and it's just like this, right? Because the child believes that, oh, it's bad to be emotional. Oh, it's bad to express this. Oh, it's bad. When I say bad, as in it's not conducive to their survival because they see the parents as these gods. Okay. So, okay. The other thing though is when you look at the 12th house, you look into, sorry, I kind of digressed a little bit, but that's the way. Um, you look into the 12th house. Let's say I didn't have any of these. Let's say I took out the asteroid. Okay. So look at this one. Took out the asteroid, notice I didn't click on any of these. And I look at, I just go like this. You'll see, right? You'll see that it's empty, so to speak, right? So what happens? Where do we go? You look at the cusp of the 12th house, which in this case is not this one, not that's the ascendant. That's the cusp of the first house. That's not the cusp of the 12th house. This is the cusp of the 12th house right here. What sign is it in? The last degrees of Gemini. What is Gemini ruled by? Go to the ruling planet of that. That's Mercury. So we go to my fourth house. And then here we see this in Scorpio. So you can see that there's a lot going on already with Scorpio. There's something with the nervous system. You notice that? Okay. Scorpio rules the excretion system. It rules the reproductive system. Remember earlier I said that reproductive system? Yes. Remember earlier I said nervous system? Exactly. So even if you didn't have this and you just went through it and you had the asteroids, that would help you quickly. That's what I do. I cheat with the asteroids. I love it. It's like, but it gets confirmed by the basic plans. But sometimes if you're still new to astrology, what happens is you're like, how do I get all the details like that? Well, don't worry about the details right now. See what you can, use your book and right away go into cheat sheets. Okay. Again, this is the third time in the series of 3 videos. I'm wearing the same thing. I'm actually showing this video now. That watch the video I put on how to get started right away in my cheat sheets. Okay, I'm going to add that in right away. Okay, along with Ann Tucker's video in the comments, I mean descriptions. But the video on cheating and all that stuff is going to be at the end of the video. So watch out for that one. So again, this is the 12th house. This is stuff before your birth. Okay, whatever you get here, remember you look into the cusp of the 12th house and you look at what rules that sign, what planet, you go to that house where it's at. If you feel it's empty. Otherwise, if you use asteroids, you'll probably get something out of that as well. And that's a trick. Okay. And I love it, the fact that it's like, and again, the healing is awareness. Bring the light of awareness, it's unconditional love. Let the river pass, let the emotions pass. But what I mean is that when you bring awareness to that memory, try looking up Neville Goddard's revision technique. Okay, there's so many things to go into the subconscious, but once you go into the memory and you can actually you'll start to get all these visions. You know, people might say, "I don't have visions. I don't have imagination." It was like, yes, you actually do. You just need to tap into it. Um, and sometimes you just need that push, right? Some people was like, they're waiting, they're waiting, they're waiting. Well, if you don't get a sign, that means that you don't get a sign yet. That means you're not ready to take it yet. What if it's too heavy? So go through what you can, even if it's like more conscious, like parts work. Okay. If you can afford doing QHHT sessions, if you go to not level one, like experienced level 1, 2, and 3 QHHT practitioners, they start charging after the 15th free session. But if they're new to QHHT, the I think they need 15 or is it 25 sessions. You're not allowed to charge yet. But then after that, they start to charge. So look for it. You go to the website QHHT.com. I'll put it in the link below. Okay. So look out for that. But that's it for now. I hope that helps. Again, sorry, we're in the same thing. It's the same exact day. So as the 2 videos before. If you have any questions, comments down below, like and subscribe, and I will see you guys later. Thank you. Bye.